Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Learn with Neil. Today I'm here with another of my lessons, and as I promised you in the introduction, we are going to delve deep into the world of literature. I'm here with a poem that is prescribed in the ICSE syllabus. It's titled Haunted Houses by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. A reminder, Wadsworth is pronounced Wadsworth. Henry Wadsworth or Wordsworth Longfellow was a Victorian poet, a pre-Raphaelite, while William Wordsworth, pronounced Wordsworth, was a Romantic poet. So keep it in mind. The poem is titled Haunted Houses. As soon as we hear the term haunted, we usually think of something that is scary. It immediately reminds us of all the horror movies we have watched or the stories that we have listened to. But Henry Wadsworth Longfellow had this beauty, so characteristic of the pre-Raphaelite movement, the love with images, the serenity, the peace, that he has ensured that by the time we finish reading this poem, you are going to fall in love with the word haunted. That the word haunted may not be always as scary as it sounds. Let's start reading this poem. The students, I would urge you to take your book with you and read it with me. Let's enjoy poetry. All houses wherein men have lived and died are haunted houses. Through the open doors, the harmless phantoms on their errands glide, with feet that make no sound upon the floors. The poem has a run-on line design. It means the ideas continue from one line to the next. This is what happens in poetry. Run-on line is also called enjambment. While you may see that it's clearly just a sentence, almost like a prose piece, but it is continuing in the next line. All houses wherein men have lived and died are haunted houses. Through the open doors, the harmless phantoms on their errands glide. Longfellow mentions here clearly that these phantoms, these poltergeists or ghosts, are harmless. They are not menacing, they are not dangerous. He reminds us that all houses where men have lived and died are not really scary haunted houses, but houses that have their memories. You see, human nature is ephemeral. Our existence is transient, not everlasting. But it is the imprint that will live on this world. It is the imprint that will live on all those physical spaces. That is what endures. That is what stays. We meet them at the doorway, on the stair. Along the passages they come and go. Impalpable impressions on the air. A sense of something moving to and fro. Impalpable impressions. It means intangible. You cannot physically feel them, touch them, but you can somehow feel their presence. And not an airy sort of presence. Airy is pronounced EERIE, but a soothing, comforting presence that the people that we once lived with, the people who are our ancestors, are also maybe among us, living in the same space, inhabiting the world currently with us. We meet them at the doorway, on the stair. The poet clearly mentions here that maybe we meet them everywhere in the house. They are there everywhere. Impalpable impressions. It's an example of an assonance, repetition of vowel sounds. Impalpable impressions. Very important phrases may come in your exam. It means intangible, perceptible, but only through imagination and the mind. What is very important here is to remember that the bridge between the spiritual world, the world of spirits, the world of phantoms, and this material world is somehow closing up here. Okay, the gap is not wide. Somehow we are connected. There are more guests at table than the hosts invited. The illuminated hall is thronged with quiet, inoffensive ghosts, as silent as the pictures on the wall. Sorry for the intervention. I had an emergency. Let's continue. There are more guests at table than the hosts invited. The illuminated hall is thronged with quiet, inoffensive ghosts, as silent as the pictures on the wall. Longfellow is getting tricky here. He uses a metaphor to explain that the guests, which are actually the uninvited guests, the ones who are our ancestors, the ones who are not physically among us, they are more in number here than the hosts invited. The hosts have invited maybe a few guests, but the house is filled with guests from the past, our ancestors. The illuminated hall is thronged with quiet, inoffensive ghosts. The ghosts are inoffensive, they do not cause any offense here. They do not disturb here. They are just here as they have always been. As silent as the pictures on the wall. A simile. The stranger at my fireside cannot see the forms I see, nor hear the sounds I hear. He but perceives what is, while unto me all that has been is visible and clear. The stranger who has been invited, the stranger who is sitting at the fireside by my side, he cannot see the forms that I can see. So Longfellow maybe means that only the living residents of the house can see who once lived and breathed here, not outsiders, not strangers. So, to the people living in the house, to the host, the invisible, so called invisible phantoms are visible, but to the guest, they are not. They are non existent. The guest only see the materials around the house. Okay? He only perceives what is physically present around him, but not the spiritual presence. How wonderfully he bridges the world, right? The spiritual world and the material world through the narrative. We have no title deeds to houses or lands. We do not have any legal ownership. The house or the land that we own now was owned once by someone else. Owners and occupants of earlier dates, from graves forgotten, stretch their dusty hands and hold in mortmain still their old estates. Owners and occupants of earlier dates. It means our ancestors, the people who lived before us. They also are owners of this land, of this house. They stretch their dusty hands from graves forgotten. What a beautifully vivid, visceral imagery here. You can literally visualize as if they are trying to reach out to you. But some of us are incapable of going across the world, right? Going, transcending from the material to the spiritual. The spirit world around this world of sense floats like an atmosphere, and everywhere wafts through these earthly mists and vapors dense, a vital breath of more ethereal air. So the spiritual presence is all around us, the world of spirits. They float as if like an atmosphere, the atmosphere that surrounds us. They waft through the mists, the vapors. They are ubiquitous. Our little lives are kept in equipoise by opposite attractions and desires. The struggle of the instinct that enjoys and the more noble instinct that aspires. A beautiful stanza. Our little lives are kept in equipoise, our little lives are kept in balance by opposite attractions and desires. We live all our life conflicted between what we really want and also our mere physical desires. There is a constant conflict. The instinct in us enjoys all the physical things in life, all the material pleasures. But there is also a noble power inside us that reaches, that tries to transcend for the world beyond the physical. Okay, it tries to reach the supernatural, something that is beyond us. It's the more noble instinct that aspires to achieve something greater, not just the mere material physical senses. These perturbations, these perpetual jar of earthly wants and aspirations, how beautifully conflicted. Earthly aspirations and also higher aspirations. Earthly means what is to do with the material world around us. Come from the influence of an unseen star, an undiscovered planet in our sky. These perturbations, this perpetual jar of earthly wants and aspirations high, come from the influence of an unseen star, an undiscovered planet in our sky. Here, the poet gets more mysterious, that maybe there are higher mysterious forces at play. The universe, or billions of universes, the world, the cosmos, is way bigger than we can possibly fathom. So maybe these conflicts of our earthly desires and to go beyond this, to transcend, maybe come from an invisible planet or star. We may never know. There is this mystery here. And as the moon from some dark gate of cloud throws over the sea a floating bridge of light, across whose trembling planks our fancies crowd into the realm of mystery and night. And as the moon from some dark gate of cloud throws over the sea a floating bridge of light. A beautifully descriptive imagery here. The poet furthers the idea of our conflict, of our desires, earthly and spiritual. As the moon from some dark gate of cloud throws over the sea a floating bridge of light, a floating bridge of light, something ephemeral, transient, yet it connects for maybe a few moments the celestial to the material. Across those trembling planks, our fancies crowd. The bridge is made of trembling planks. Like I said, it's ephemeral, it's transient, much like humanity, much like all that we physically see around us. But on these planks, maybe our fancies crowd, our imagination to go beyond this universe, to try to understand what's beyond it, what mysterious forces there are at play. We go into the realm of mystery and night. We delve deep into a world that we may never be able to fully fathom. Yet, we desire to transcend, to go beyond. So, the concluding stanza. So, from the world of spirits there descends a bridge of light. He further continues in the same vein, connecting it with this, connecting the physical world with the celestial, the spiritual world, over whose unsteady floor you see the imagination, the fancy. That world is unsteady. Our physical world is something we can grasp. That imaginary world, the world that we deep dive into maybe in our dreams, in our desires, they are not as steady. That sways and bends, wanders our thoughts over the dark abyss, dark abyss. So this mysterious force, this mysterious world that we aim to understand is abysmal. Okay. Wander our thoughts above the dark abyss. Our thoughts wander above that plane, that dark plane, where something deep and unfathomable lies. And we may never get to understand it. But that is not the point here. It's our desire to transcend. It's our desire to understand something beyond the ordinary, something beyond the mere physical that we see surrounding us. So the poem portrays a haunted house as not something disturbing, but as comforting, right? The human imprints that stays, what we leave behind. and those that live may try to remember them, those who once lived here. Like someday we will live this world too, but it's the memory, it's the imprint, it's our work that we live that will endure. That is the vital aspect of this poem. That the human imprint that we live on this material physical world, this typically transient world, is what will maybe endure. It's the same thing Shakespeare once said, right? In his sonnet, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? So long as men can see, this gives life to thee." So, as long as people will read, as long as people will try to live something for the next generation, we will not live in vain. We will live something that is enduring, that is everlasting, much in contrast to the material world that keeps fading away from us. I hope you enjoyed listening to me. I hope we enjoyed reading this poem. I hope you loved it. I have been deeply impacted by this piece of poetry. I have been reading it for years now, and I always go back to it to understand this desire to go beyond, this desire to maybe feel something beyond our physical feelings, physical instincts, right? That I'm sitting here, maybe there are my ancestors living around me, like sitting down, maybe listening to me reciting this poem to you, explaining it. Maybe my mother, who is no longer here, but maybe she is also here. So you see, Longfellow takes us back to our roots here to understand that everything that is around you have a deeper meaning than you can possibly fathom. That maybe there are forces at play that you will never understand, but they are intangible, impalpable impressions. Thank you.